to the 5D Shift podcast with Openhand. It's where we take a higher dimensional perspective of the tremendous shifts and transformations happening in the field all around us. And in this episode, I want to look at some key accelerations that have happened in the field during the festive period, which will prepare the way for a really strong, powerful emergence of consciousness and acceleration in 2025. What's that all about, and how can we best benefit from these transformations and changes going on, which are happening in the very field of Gaia herself? Stay with me. I'll be right back in just a moment. We've entered a pivotal moment in Earth's history. People in all walks of life are waking up and challenging the 3D shadow system. They're turning away from the fake stream, going inwards and igniting the passion of their soul. We're shifting consciousness into 5D. What does that mean exactly? How and when will it happen? Openhand is a higher dimensional ascended master consciousness working to illuminate the pathway forwards through the stormy transition. But this is never about telling you the truth. It's about offering essential insights into the shift, tools, meditations, and spiritual practice so you can realize your own truth. Because ascension to 5D is something only you can actualize for yourself. Get involved, explore, inquire, expand, liberate your soul. I feel given to raise awareness of an interdimensional conference that took place through the festive season between the higher dimensional ascended masters, between the star being nations, the dragon nations, between the planetary devas, and of course Gaia too. A reflection happened about how the field had opened up, especially in the last 6 months, but also going back over a period of about 20 years. Tremendous work has been going on in that time by unseen field workers, light workers, grid facilitators and realigners around the planet, planetary shift facilitators during the last 20 years. Amazing work by people operating under the radar, unseen, often unrespected or cherished or understood by the world around them. Nevertheless, they've done this tremendous selfless work. We have engaged with different layers of the intervention and taken an approach whereby, rather than demonizing or polarizing, which only creates the sense of separation, of conflict, of warring, instead to engage them and work to understand why they are undertaking exactly what they are. What do they feel they're gaining from it? And working to illuminate what the karmic distortion in that might be. For example, the reptilians, over excessive consumption of the planet, control on the mental plane, and manipulation in the physical, essentially. Exploitation of the ecosystems, which has fed its way through civilization, through humanity, and we see that in destruction of the ecosystems around us now. So that group has been engaged, for example, and reunited with its ancestors from the constellation, from Draco. So they've been reunited with those star beings and helped to realign and extract. We've also seen how the Anunnaki have been engaged, and two dissonant fragments, a split that happened back in the time of the Sirius shift 120 million years ago, how that was healed and they were brought back together, and then helped to extract from their intervention within the planetary field and within humanity. That was a major shift too. We've engaged the entity Ra, which has been the front man, the front entity for many of the spiritual practices, the religions, controlling to some strong degree and feeding consciousness back into this ever-escalating synthetic reality. We've also engaged with what we may call the Council of Nine, which we've discovered was a breakaway movement from the Ascended Masters aeons ago. It's been their intention to explore how they could underpin, support reality constructs and create civilizations so that karma could be animated, actualized, expressed, and unraveled. Benevolent intention is how it began. Yet increasingly over the time, over the aeons, over the cycles, they got more and more involved in manipulation and control of these various civilizations they've created, both in this solar system and further afield. And as we know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And to me, what I've experienced is these beings in this particular council and others have become wayward from the natural flow, distorted in their actions, and we've seen that rippling out onto the planet around us through the bogus pandemonium, for example, through the manipulation of genetics. And we've seen this being ramped up now through the increased application of AI and the increased electrification of the planet through the EMF signatures that happen from the satellite belt, for example. And this is having the disastrous collapsing effect on our ecosystems. So we've engaged that consciousness and reflected to them just what an impact and the degree of suffering that is having to sentient life here on the planet. And that has caused a wobbling, a vacillating, a breaking effect of their coherency and their ability to act through the field. Let's be clear, the energetic morphic fields in which we reside are interrelated with opposing consciousness, with intervention, who've created the simulation through the perceptions and plastered it upon our planet and pulled consciousness into this ever-escalating distractive drama. This is what has fueled it. And we've reflected to them the disastrous impact that has on anyone incarnated here, not to mention the fauna and flora of the ecosystems. And that this is being seen by star beings around the cosmos and recorded in the Akashic record. Let's be clear, truth is the real, let's say, weapon, although not, that unravels distortion, unravels realities that have gone awry. And so this is being reflected to them. This has weakened, unraveled their coherency to some large degree. But what we must understand is they constantly recalibrate using AI, using synthetic tall whites to instigate the agenda here on the planet, which is why it's getting ever more complex and challenging to interrelate with, how draining of energy it is. Perhaps the key way in which they've misdirected the energies of the planet is through tilting its axis of rotation by the imposition of the moon and tilting it over. The moon is clearly artificial. You can see it in the geometry that it's 108 times its diameter exactly from the Earth, as the sun is 108 times its diameter exactly from the Earth. It's exactly spherical to block out the sun of the solar eclipse. It's a quarter the size of the Earth, yet a fraction of its density, and spins only once on its axis around the Earth. None of these factors are natural by any means. There are plenty more which reveal that it is artificial. It is locked in a coupling effect with the sun, displaced unnaturally 5 degrees from the planetary equator, and that tilts the planet over and generates the precession of the equinoxes as the axis subtends through the various star signs of the zodiac on a 26,000 year cycle. You can see that that's not natural, it's being held in place, and consequently it bleeds energy from the natural torus of the planet and then projects that energy down upon the planet, creating the simulation which is plastered upon it, and which we don't necessarily perceive as happening, but coming through the five senses, through our thoughts, through conditioning, through intentionality, through objectives, goals, ambitions, desires, which are orchestrated and manipulated within the matrix, within the simulation. Now, as we've engaged with them, they would say, they have said, well, this was a sacred contract. That Gaia couldn't hold her vibration sufficiently slowly enough to stop exploding. They needed to slow the planet down to some degree so as to encapsulate energy and so as to be able to establish a steady civilization, a foundation upon it. This is what they have said. This is what they have communicated. And one can consider that might have had a benevolent intent. However, it's gone into overdrive. It's manipulating karma, it's manipulating consciousness, sentient life. It's not allowing the natural emergence and natural pathway of the soul. It's not allowing reality constructs to break down as they've reached their, let's say, end point, and to be regenerated naturally by the flower of life. It's not allowing that to happen. And so you're seeing a very toxic, cancerous reality being created on the earth and bleeding the earth dry of its natural life force, of its juice. It's bleeding it dry, and that we're seeing around us in life right now. Well, all of this was considered at the conference. And on the positive side, how a tremendous opening was happening in the field, and how many of these dissonant intervention groups were now indeed realigning, but yet still plenty holding out, and still many manipulating, controlling from the 4D ether especially, to orchestrate into this simulation, and now ever escalating with increased electrification and through the application of AI. So an opening happening, but a closing down, reconfiguration at the same time too. And so some strong positivity, yes, but then the crucial question was posed. Is Gaia ready to be able to unravel from this intervention, accelerate her toroidal flow, integrate through the torus and open into multidimensionality sufficiently enough in time to meet this grand galactic convergence, the event which is coming up within the next 20 to 30 years, at least at this current timeline. So the event being where the solar system passes through a high energetic segment of the galaxy, and where we receive a galactic superwave, which happens in 12,000 year cycles, that then takes the sun into solar micronova, which then triggers the final pole shift on the planet, that cleanses the surface of the Earth through storm, through volcanic activity, but also propels the vibration up into 5, 6, 7D, what we can then call the golden age on Earth. Would Gaia be ready in time to extract from all of this convolution, this Gordian knot of soul contracts, both with the intervention and with humanity? Would she be able to do that in time? And when this was contemplated, the feeling was no, she wouldn't be. She has much too much of an interrelational dynamic on the emotional plane and is bound into a lot of trauma. She's become heftily interrelated on the emotional plane, unraveling karma and trauma that goes back through the aeons, through the First Nations connections, through Lemurian times, through the hybridization that happened around Atlantis. And there's a huge Gordian knot of energy for her to unravel and a lot of trauma. Yeah, strong, heartfelt feelings for her and what she's endured, what she's held together, what she's journeyed through. Just deep love and respect for that soul. But also recognition that she probably wouldn't be ready, that she wouldn't be able to ascend as the solar system is brought into energetic acceleration with the galactic core. She wouldn't be able to do that. And it became clear that the intervention, the Counts of Nine specifically, were banking on this. Even though they'd seen these tremendous energies coming in to help unravel the intervention here, they had seen what they considered a flaw in the shift plan, that Gaia would not be ready, and that they could continue to exploit, they could continue to impose the enhanced magnetic field from the moon, coupling energy from the sun, and that they could do that and suppress the acceleration of the torus and lock humanity into an ever-escalating simulation. They felt they could continue to do that. However, what they hadn't seen was another possibility, that Gaia could be helped to withdraw from these aeons of suffering and karmic trauma and make space for another soul to come in, a soul from Lyra, for example. This proposal was put to Gaia on Christmas Day, and you could immediately feel the sense of relief that she wouldn't have to necessarily endure all this trauma, this karmic trauma that she'd need to unwind through, that she's suffered over aeons, and that another route, another healing possibility might be open to her. There was the immediate sense of relief in that connection, that communication. But also there was a concern about the complexity of it. Could she actually undertake that? How would it happen? She was assured by the star beings, by the higher dimensionals, it was indeed possible. It's been done before. How might that happen? Well, first we need to consider what the nature of the planetary soul is. When many people speak of connecting with Gaia and the beauties and the joy of nature, actually what they're really probably connecting with are the planetary devas. What are they? A deva, a planetary deva, is one that holds the collective consciousness of a particular species, and there's a deva for every single species on the planet. So for example, if you consider watching a murmur of starlings, how extraordinary that is, right? How can you have so many thousands, even at times millions of birds moving all together in harmony and synchronicity? How is that possible? Well, it's because there's a Devic consciousness that holds it together and moves with this group as one. Extraordinary. You see it, for example, in the humble termite that is able to build its nest of chambers underground in a hugely sophisticated way so as to keep the temperature at exactly the right level for its offspring as they grow. Even the most advanced computers are unable to replicate what the humble termite is able to achieve. Miraculous. It is the devas that undertake this. So how does Gaia interrelate with the devas? Well, I could use, at the risk of a synthetic computer example, but probably more easy than to understand, is that you might consider that Gaia, or the planetary soul, is the operating system of the computer, and that the devas are the applications that dance on top. So the operating system really informs the devas of a particular quality of expression that they then bring to life. And the devas then animate that expression and actualize it. They're what you see and engage with. Now, the operating system can be replaced without replacing all the applications. Excuse the risk of synthetic expression or metaphor within this. But the operating system can be replaced or upgraded, transmuted, we could say, without replacing the applications, the devas on top. And so this process could be greatly eased if the devas were involved. Now, it's my knowing that it's the collective of devas which had sent out the clarion call, which said, look, something desperate needs to be done here because the ecosystems are on the point of collapse. 200 species of creature have been moving on daily during the last 10 years. Daily, that's unprecedented. About 70% of the ecosystems have been obliterated, and the planetary orchestration or organization of those is at the point of collapse. We are steadily slip-sliding into a planetary simulation where AI and the intervention have total dominion. Do we really want to risk that happening? The devas sent out the clarion call. They're the same ones that sent out the clarion call that precipitated a rapid end to the reign of the dinosaurs. And so they sent that out, and that's what caused this, let's say, interdimensional conference to be convened and explored, and the challenges faced going forward. And then a very sophisticated, straightforward solution proposed, and that if Gaia accepted it, then a change, an exchange, a transmutation of the planetary soul could happen. Now, to be clear, this could not be, would not be imposed upon Gaia because she's a sovereign being. She has this role, she's been soul contracted to fulfill it. It would have to come from her before this could be supported and instigated. It was put to her, and what I can say is, I felt the immediate sense of relief and letting go that this could be a possibility, that there could be this more rapid transformation and emergence from this ever-increasing convolution on the planet. There was genuine, heartfelt, emotional relief at this proposal. But then also complexity and anxiety. Could she actually undertake it? Well, the higher dimensional team assured her that would be possible, that as soon as she began to let go and signal her heartfelt intention to release, that the star beings, the dragon nations would come in and this exchange would happen, and that she would be facilitated to extract out progressively into the 4D angelic realm. This was assured to her. Now, whenever something happens, transpires in the quantum field, which is a field of possibility that then focuses in on probability until it actualizes, you cannot say for sure exactly what is happening until it ripples out onto the surface of 3D reality. This proposal was put to Gaia on Christmas Day, 25th of December. 2 days later, we saw a tsunami building in the Pacific and coming ashore in Peru, north of Lake Titicaca and the mystical Machu Picchu. Lake Titicaca is regarded by many as the sacral chakra of the planet, where the female dragon energies meet the masculine rainbow energies. It's a place of manifestation of creation. And this, to me, very clearly was the surface effect of that letting go by Gaia. She had taken a step. She was moving in the direction of extracting from this convolution and being supported in doing that. At that point, I felt the opening of the planetary field through the axial torus. I felt the arrival of the Lyran beings, and specifically the one that would come in and infuse and take up the role of the planetary soul. It's this mechanism which was expressed to the Council of Nine, who believed that they would have ultimate dominion over the planet, and they hadn't seen it. It blindsided them, and it literally shattered them apart as if you dropped a bomb in their midst. Okay, it wasn't the intention to shatter them in that way, but at least break the coherency so that the planetary crown chakra could open, and it indeed achieved that. You saw an immediate opening. They hadn't reckoned with this possibility. It blindsided them. And so it opened the crown chakra, and a Lyran soul, the new planetary soul, was able to come in, infuse down through the chakras, the densities, in tuning in with the planetary torus. I could feel that happening, the strong infusion of this new dragon harmonic, we can say, that's coming in. Based on that kind of configuration, stronger, faster, more interrelational without attachment, more dissociated, able to hold a faster speed through multidimensionality. I felt that soul come in, and I felt the soul of Gaia receding and extracting out into the 4D angelic realm. It was an incredible shift that completed in the final hours of New Year's Day 2025. Extraordinary. In the days that followed, we've seen two key shifts ripple onto the surface of reality as a consequence. Firstly, we saw a mud volcano trigger and activate in Ethiopia, in the Rift Valley, the cradle of humanity, which is the place where Homo sapiens emerged from. And as you saw the mud coming up from the volcano, it spoke of this toxic sewer of soul contract that stretches back to the inception, the hybridization of Homo sapiens. We saw that bubbling to the surface. That represents this karmic convolution, these soul contracts, this Gordian knot, which is now being readied to unravel and unwind. I felt very much powerful energies coming in on the plane of emotions, the water plane. I felt water dragon energy coming in to support that stirring up and breaking down. This was phenomenal that it would then be replicated onto the surface in that way. Now, what I'm being made aware of is that Gaia has indeed centered her consciousness in 4D in the angelic realm, but is holding what we might call an umbilical cord into the planetary torus on the plane of emotions through the sacral chakra. I could literally feel in my belly as I tuned into the planetary torus that convolution, but also that connection like a thread. Now, this is really important for a number of key reasons. One, it means that we can now engage in those contracts and start breaking them down because they're not needed anymore. They become redundant as the nature of the planet shifts and the construct, the old construct, breaks down. They become redundant, assuming we're able to work them through and let them go. But also, crucially, it provides a conduit for those souls not ready to go with the shift to 5, 6, 7D. Instead, they can find their way into the angelic realm and regress through their karma and then undertake a subsequent reincarnation wherever the reality configuration suits their new inquiry. So you've got a conduit now. Now, this is really important. Why? Because the simulation has created this collective bubble consciousness which is harvesting souls in it through the application of enhanced electrification, through the intoxication of the planet, through AI measures. It's pulling consciousness into a collective bubble. And so these souls are losing their way, their ability to reincarnate in the natural way and go with the natural flow of life. So what we have is a conduit, a means by which many of these souls who can't go with the shift, who won't be ready to go into the angelic realm, be recovered and reincarnate in a suitable incarnation somewhere else. That is a major advantage of this too. And right now, leading up to the recording of this podcast, we've seen a major earthquake in Tibet, near to Mount Everest, which, if you recall from earlier Openhand work, was a key place, the key place, I believe, where the dragon ley lines were activated several months ago. This is a clear representation to me that the axial consciousness of the planet is now pulling and shifting back to the actual alignment with its natural torus. Okay, the precession, the physical precession of the equinoxes will remain in place whilst the moon remains in place. But as the consciousness draws back to the torus, as this new energy has come in, then what you've seen is the build-up in pressure, if you like, fragment the field, and that's precipitated onto the surface. We're seeing a strong realignment with the natural torus of the planet. And that can only be a good thing. Yes, the heart goes out to anyone who's died or suffered within that. That's absolutely tragic. But what we need to understand is that a complete cleansing of 3D life on the planet is coming and necessary. And we know that what needs to happen is a transition, a movement, a passing on from this old reality construct. It's going to come to us all in the years hence between now and the conclusion of the shift. So let our hearts and prayers go out to those who've suffered in this, yet understand that a realignment needs to happen to prevent total destruction of the planet, its ecosystems, and the consumption of consciousness into this simulation. We need to be wary of that. We need to really work to grow at a heart level within all of this, to be able to hold the space for that transformation and the suffering that it might bring, but the emergence from the systemic field suffering that the balance of sentient life has been experiencing and the Devas have called upon to unravel, unwind, and shift from now. Wow. Phenomenal unravelings happening at this time. And we're going to witness for sure a year of acceleration as we come into 2025. And providing we orientate ourselves accurately and properly in terms of the soul's journey of emergence, of integration and emergence, if that becomes our daily orientation now, and it needs to if we're going to go with the shift, then what can happen is we'll be guided on a pathway. We'll be guided on a pathway that embraces this new infusing light. People in this community are already experiencing that happening. It's already opening their multidimensionality, opening the crown chakra. It's already creating with them in a new vibrant possibility as they step forward along their pathway. That's open to us all, but we do have to step into it. We do have to embrace it, open the chakras, Feel that infusion, that very vibrant energy that's coming through now, and have it animate our lives going forward. To the extent we do that, we will benefit enormously from this shift. With this in mind, I felt to guide a short meditation that helps you open into this new possibility, these new infusing energies to help you transition and align your life through this year of acceleration that's unfolding before us. So, relax, bring yourself to a centered space and connect with your breathing. Bring attention to your breathing. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling lightly through the mouth. Exhaling through the mouth helps to amplify the feeling at the back of the throat, which is connecting through the throat chakra into the axial torus of the planet. You might feel it as an expansion, as a timelessness, connection. You may get a visual sense of it through light, for example. But bear in mind, we're working to connect into the singularity, which is the sense of pure presence. I liken it to sitting on the banks of a lake, looking into the center as a spiral whirlpool descends downwards, looking into that, feeling how consciousness dissolves into it, the sense of surrender, the sense of arrival, where the identity, the false egoic identity, is unraveling and falling away. And you're getting a sense of that deepening inside. And then as you inhale, now opening with that expansion up through the head, into the third eye, and up to the crown. The opening through the crown. So now as you inhale, you're opening up through the head, through the higher chakras. Now we want to bring that lightness down through the body. So as you exhale then, down through the crown, down through the third eye, through the throat, the high heart too, which is key in all of this, connection into the twin flame. Exhaling down into the high heart, feeling the energies, your soul energies, infusing, deepening through the core of you, and supported by these new energies coming in, the new planetary soul and the star beings, dragon energies, feeling the support as you infuse this accelerating consciousness, bringing it down through the heart, and now progressively through the solar plexus, opening out, unraveling, unwinding, down through the sacrum, into and through the base. So now as you inhale, you're inhaling all the way up, and you might get a spiral of swaying with that. As you exhale, exhaling all the way down. Now you might have some sense of anxiety with what's happening. That's totally acceptable, understandable. Perhaps bring your energy, your attention to the belly. You might feel some tightness there around these old soul contracts. And get a sense of unraveling those, unwinding those. So inhale into them and exhale through them. Unravel, unwind through them. And feel yourself calming. as you inhale now, opening yourself to greater possibility that would come to your life, that can come into your life, such as greater creativity, more aligned, authentic relationships, new synchronistic connections and possibilities. All of this becomes available to you. All we have to do is open to that possibility. So now as you inhale up, come up into the crown, open in the crown, and allow yourself to become more comfortable in the not knowing, the unknown of life, that infinite potential before manifestation begins to happen. Surrendering to that until you get the spark of awareness that cascades in, speaks through signs and synchronicity, that guides you, moves you in a particular direction. This is crucial now as we step forward, essentially into the birth of a new paradigm. In conclusion, phenomenal acceleration has happened, an unwinding, an unraveling, an integration through the festive season of 2024, leading into 2025. The field is shifting in profound ways, and we're already seeing that rippling onto the surface of reality. I'm informed that the new infusing planetary soul has taken the name of Avalonia after an ancient continent that existed, the remnants of which now exist in, for example, southwest England, where I was first introduced to her, at Merlin's cave no less, out on the cliffs above Tintagel. Phenomenal feeling and experience to connect with this very vibrant, very caring and compassionate, but also recognizing this important shift, this acceleration that now needs to happen. She's taken the name Avalonia in respect for Gaia and the tremendous work that she's undertaken throughout aeons here with Earth. Respect, love, admiration, and now support as she withdraws, and a new paradigm has been birthed and will progressively expand, emerge in consciousness over time, multidimensionally. We are readying ourselves to ascend into 5, 6, 7D, and the timeline, the window for that is now very much shortened. At least that's what it feels like to me. We're seeing this acceleration happening and that rippling out onto the surface of our reality. We need to be clear about this. Okay, I've shared interpretations, feelings, senses, backed up by synchronicities. But each person must make their own mind up about this and come to their own realizations in relation to it. Maybe you find it difficult to swallow, to comprehend that the planetary soul could exchange and transmute in this way. That's fine. But I encourage you to consider now how the planetary vibration and acceleration of consciousness is shifting, because it's certainly stepped across a new threshold here. And I encourage you to explore that, to feel that, to sense that, and how you might now move with it. We are being supported by the Ascended Masters, by the star beings, the dragon beings, by the Devas. We are getting masses of love and support now coming in, but we must each take the individual steps on our pathway in order to meet this acceleration of consciousness, which is now underway. Have no doubt, Openhand will be there for you. Should you feel like you resonate with the work and you wish to call upon it, we'll be there to support that. It's our aim, our commitment to support the transition into the new paradigm. The work has been crafted for this. The ship wasn't built for the harbour, but for the high seas. So do call upon us if you feel we might be able to support and help you in any way. I wish you well on your journey through 2025, this year of acceleration. Namaste. Been inspired? Then get involved with the revolutionary work of Openhand. Join us on seminars and retreats, online and terrestrial, for groundbreaking meditations, illuminating self-realizations, and plenty of fun. It's all supporting the great planetary shift to 5D consciousness. Join kindred spirits today. Visit openhandweb.org.